Insight and perspective. Still with us tonight, Jennifer Shen, retired director of the San Diego Police Lab out there in California. Also with us, Vince Champion, retired police officer and a now union representative. Next story, and this is right up your alley, Jennifer, I know, from WCPO in Cincinnati. Genealogy test leads to a cold case arrest.
Stoney Brown is now in custody, charged with several crimes, including rape, dating back to 1995. He'd been living here in Cincinnati, flying under the radar until someone in his family submitted their DNA to a genealogy website, and that led law enforcement to Brown's doorstep. Jamie Cyrus is the founder of A Voice for the Innocent, created to support survivors of sexual abuse and assault.
It started because I was abused when I was a kid.
He says there are several roadblocks that sometimes keep people from reporting sex crimes.
If they know, well, they're not going to be able to convict them or whatever because they don't have any kind of a criminal record, you know, then what's the point of doing that? And this is just another way to help tear down that barrier and saying, look, but we have alternative ways to find that person.
One of those new ways is law enforcement's access to DNA from genealogy websites that have gained popularity in recent years. It's what led them to Stoney Brown, accused of raping women in the Clifton area more than 20 years ago.
We had a few relatives close to the people that submitted the DNA. One of them was the current suspect.
Hamilton County Prosecutor Joe Dieters says DNA in Brown's trash confirmed the match to a DNA profile assembled years ago.
When we get genealogy information related to the Y chromosome and the male genealogy in a family tree, it helps us narrow down some of these suspects. It has been a game changer.
Brown now faces 11 counts of rape, 4 counts of kidnapping, 4 counts of burglary, and is being held on $4 million bond.
Short of murder, it's the worst type of crime you could commit, to break into someone's home, hold a knife to their throat, and rape them. In one case, the woman had a 2-year-old baby laying next to her.
Brown could face 190 years in prison.
I think it's a really good thing. I mean, anything that can help break down barriers for survivors who are looking for help.
I'll tell you, in a lot of these cases now, 23andMe will get you 20 to life. So how do these genealogy tests help find suspects? Jennifer Shen, going to start with you. This is a huge development in the world of crime fighting, especially cold cases.
It really is, and it's an exciting tool, and it's also very interesting how they do this. But basically, they have these old cases where there was some sort of DNA left at the scene that at the time we either didn't know how to do that type of analysis, or they analyzed the semen or the blood or the body fluid and it didn't match to anyone. So now with access to these DNA ancestry databases, they compare that unknown sample from the crime scene to everybody who's in that database, and they look for the people who are closest in the elements of their DNA profile to the unknown profile. And then, depending on how close it is, they know someone is related. They know the suspect is related to that person, either very closely or sometimes as a first or second or third degree, a third cousin. So then they just start doing research to figure out who's in that family tree, and they build it, and they build their way right to the suspect. It's absolutely fascinating work, and it's been extraordinarily useful in solving crimes.
Yeah, Vince, I guess the big difference here is that you can find people who don't have a prior record, whose DNA is not in the data bank that law enforcement has.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's just another great tool for law enforcement to be able to move forward and solve current cases and solve these cold cases and get some answers to the victims with this DNA. We can definitely find the right person and put the right person in jail also.
All right, next story from WFTS down in Tampa, Florida. 70+ people charged in a massive drug bust.
Guns, money, and drugs seized after a months-long investigation in Polk County. Last year, the county saw a string of violent home invasions and the murder of Shay Collins. It prompted a county-wide crackdown.
7 different phones 2 more extensions, 9 different phones and extensions that we went up on.
Investigators monitored 37,000 calls and texts. Search warrants even led detectives to this underground tunnel. In all, 74 people were charged with more than 700 felonies.
We seized 12 different kinds of drugs. We seized $500,000 worth of street-level drugs.
Enough fentanyl, the sheriff says, to kill thousands of people. The sheriff also said this man, Alfonso Payne Jr., was killed near an area where they served a search warrant. Despite a rumor Payne was working with law enforcement, the sheriff says he was not a source. Investigators remain determined to close these unsolved cases in their county.
We're going to keep on keeping on. We're going to make you so miserable your third cousin doesn't sleep well at night.
Sheriff Grady Judd down in Polk County, Florida. You know, how sophisticated was this operation? Vince, looking at it, I mean, they're digging underground tunnels in this one.
Yeah, this is one of the, you know, this probably took months and months to go through, to look through all the phones, to once they got this, there's no telling how long it took. Very sophisticated in what they were looking at and what specifically they were doing. And I'll tell you, I worked in Florida, and I would not want Sheriff Judd looking for me, because he will spare no expense and he will do everything he can.
It's amazing. Jennifer Shen, there's a lot of things that were seized here, guns especially, and I'm wondering, are there things that can be done to try to investigate the weapons to see if they're connected to any other crimes?
Absolutely. You can do a couple things. And first thing you can do is fire all those guns and take the fired cartridge cases and put them in the gun database, IBIS, the gun database where you can match those guns with unsolved crimes or even with solved crimes. So you can connect different crimes together, and therefore you can connect people to those crimes. And you might be able to solve some crimes that you hadn't before and connect cases that will help increase this investigation and make it bigger and bigger. So that's really exciting. And you can also do some DNA on the weapons, DNA on the cartridge cases to try to connect people to the weapons specifically. And at the end of all of that, you may be able to arrest a lot more people for several more crimes. So it's a pretty amazing takedown that they did.
Jennifer Shen, Vince Champion, always great to have you on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.